What's up, guys? We've made it to episode 7 of Chuck versus the Alma Mater, and we've made it through the first 6 episodes that really establish a background for the story, and we've moved on to what I would like to call the beginning, the true beginning of the story, I guess. Beginning of the overall arc of the series. Mostly season 1 arc, but establishing an arc for the whole series. So it's a pretty big episode in terms of the rest of the season and the rest of the series going forward. It's a it's a pretty good episode too, by the way. There's not a lot of things bad with this episode. I'll say that. So we're gonna discuss that today. And first off, I'd like to thank all you guys once again. Like I said, I'm releasing 2 podcast episodes this week because you guys are so awesome, and you exponentially increase the downloads of this podcast. Second off, I would love for you guys to check out the new logo. I don't know if you're as you're listening to this, you can see the new logo, but we had a wonderful Reddit user, Fried Chicken 24. Great name, by the way. Wonderful Redditor. He sent me, he or she, I don't know, sent me a great picture that they said we could use for the podcast, and I was like, heck yeah, because this new logo is much better than the crappy logo I created. By much better, I mean like 10 times better. So I hope you guys enjoy the new logo too, by the way. Looks pretty fantastic if you ask me. Second off, I'd like to thank Chuckaholics for promoting the podcast from the very beginning. Thank you very much. Also, we do live chats there every Friday over the rewatches, both his articles and my podcast rewatches. So join us for those if you'd like. They're pretty fun. And I think that's about it. I thank you the listeners, and the some people who helped me out at the beginning. So here we go, guys. Let's dive into Chuck versus the Alma Mater. First off, I would like to introduce a brand new segment. The idea was given to me by Christopher from Chuckaholics.com, founder. So I would like to start implementing this, and it's a pretty good one too. I like it. It's basically what my favorite song is of the episode, because the music of Chuck is part of the reason that I fell in love with the show. The music is absolutely fantastic. The music producer on that show, perfect. They know exactly what they're doing. And for this week's episode, I've decided to choose Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis. And usually, at some point in time, I'm going to figure out how to get these songs from somewhere and put them in the podcast so I can give you guys like a quick 15-20 second I guess listen, see what it sounds like, and I'll eventually get to that. But I'm pretty busy today, and so I'm going to provide a link down below for you to listen to the song, because I think it's a fantastic song. It was easily my favorite of the episode. If you're not sure which part it is in the episode, it's the song playing when Chuck is reminiscing about his days back in Stanford with Bryce, when he does the flashbacks. So, once again, song of the episode, Chuck versus the Alma Mater, song of the episode, Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis. And that will take care of our segment, favorite song. So now, since we're doing favorites, let's go to the segment I really enjoyed doing. It's the hit of the week. Episode hit of the week. And for Chuck versus the Alma Mater, we don't have a lot of like hand-to-hand combat. We have people shooting at each other, which is pretty cool. We don't have a lot of hand-to-hand combat. Casey gets a good punch in, but I'd have to give my hit of the week, even though it's not really technically a hit. I'm considering it a hit because I thought it was funny. So my hit of the week is going to be Charles Irving Bartowski when he pulled down the banner and the bad guy ran into it, flipping over, hitting the table and stuff. So that's my hit of the week. Chuck has won his very first hit of the week. So congratulations, Zachary Levi, who played Chuck. You won this week's hit of the week for Chuck versus the Alma Mater. If you're keeping score at home, which I know you are because this is everybody's favorite segment, right? It's everybody's favorite segment. We have Casey at 2, Sarah Walker 1, Laszlo at 1, and Chuck at 1. And like I said, I'm gonna be from now on. I'm gonna be throwing out Laszlo's score because he was a 1 episode bad guy, and he's a goner. So there you go, hit of the week, Chuck. Congratulations. All right, so let's dive into some of the smaller topics of this episode first before we dive into the big ones, because there's a lot of big topics in this episode. So we'll start with the buy more, because a lot of that's not necessarily it's not really a big topic as of now compared to what went on with Team Bartowski, because that a lot of big things happened in this episode for them. So we'll start out with Harry Tang. Harry Tang, the new assistant manager, the new Sauron of the Bymore, the dictator of the Bymore. Their Bymore's very own Joseph Stalin. He's a bad man. He's a bad assistant manager, guys. He's really bad. He's more into separating the workers than pushing them forward to getting the best of their ability, which you can definitely tell hinders people at the Bymore. And you can see how well people operate when they're not allowed to, intermingle, discuss, talk to people, have lunch together. It really affects their group dynamic. So I mean, it's a big deal. And so who's obviously now Chuck has his own thing going on, as we see in the episode with Stanford and Bryce and the Intersect. So who takes up the lead in the fight against Harry Tang? None other than Morgan Guillermo Grimes. And I guess that's a spoiler, sorry. Morgan's middle name is Guillermo. I like saying Morgan Guillermo Grimes. It's great. So we have a basically grudge match. Harry Tang versus Morgan Grimes. And it's a pretty good grudge match that Morgan wins in the end. It's a 12-round fight. It's easy, a 12-round fight. But Morgan wins in the end. And he gets some help along the way, obviously, because, like I said, the entire Bymore doesn't want Harry Tang as the assistant manager. Even Big Mike didn't want him as the assistant manager. Big Mike even said he's got the personality of a wet blanket. Or less than that. I don't remember his exact quote, but it was not kind words. We'll say that. So, I mean, Morgan does get help along the way, with help from Anna, at least, in getting the key card, so he can have access to the main remote, the universal remote. Had a hard time finding that word for some reason. But anyway, so who's the one to betray the Bymore uprising? None other than our own Lester. Lester's betrayal. Man, that hit hard with Morgan. He should have seen it coming though. But Lester probably does stuff like that. I mean, probably should have seen that one coming. So Lester betrays the Bymore team. Sad. Really is sad. Especially after all the work they put in. Anna basically seducing, I would say fake seducing, Harry Tang to get his keys so they can get the remote. Now, this all remote stems from the game Fingers of Fury, which is another Bymore shenanigan. And I love these Bymore shenanigans. They're funny. The Fingers of Fury is a game where they two people flip channels and have to identify the most amount of TV shows in a minute. and it seems like it'd be a fun game, and it seems like something people would do, like at a Best Buy. I feel like people would do this if there was absolutely no customers, because that would be fun. It would be funny. But actually, now that I think about it, Best Buy's TVs probably aren't connected to cable. I could be wrong, but they're probably not. But anyway, so it all stems from the Fingers of Fury. Harry Tang changed all the channels with his universal remote while they were playing the game. Pissed some people off, especially Morgan. Morgan was not having it. But anyway, Morgan sent to the death pit. And by death pit, I mean customer service. And if anybody has ever worked anything customer service, that's not usually the nicest people come to customer service. It's usually the meanest people. So, I mean, that's a pretty crappy job, if you know what I mean. It's pretty terrible. So Morgan gets sent to the pit of death. That's what I'm calling it. And what does he do? He retaliates. He gets that universal remote, and he threatens Sands of Passion Cove. Not Sands of Passion. He threatens to turn all the TVs to Passion Cove. Harry Tang's like, uh-oh, can't let him do that. We're a family store here. Somewhat of a family store, at least. So Morgan wins. He outsmarts Harry Tang. Gets out of the pit of death. But he's won the battle, really. It's not even, it's a war between Harry Tang and Morgan. More like Harry Tang and the rest of the Bymore crew. It's a war. But Morgan won this battle, hands down. It was a long fight. It was contested all the way till the end, but Morgan won in the very end, last round, last second punch, boom, knocked him out. So that about does it for the Bymore shenanigans. So now we move on to the bigger topics at hand. The Team Bartowski problems. And I guess I'll start with the smallest part. We'll talk about the Icelandic spy bad guy thing. He's an alright bad guy. I mean, he's literally he would be a bad, what I would call a bad one episode bad guy, but his main weapon of choice is a crossbow, which is awesome. So he's been promoted to alright bad guy. He's not great one episode bad guy. He's an alright one episode bad guy. But he could have been a bad one episode bad guy. That crossbow really helps him out there. So, all of this episode, like I said at the beginning, is more of a beginning of a character arc. The first 6 episodes, while fun and good, really are just establishing background for the characters. This is where the story arc of not only the first series picks up, but really the whole series going forward. This is where it all begins in this episode. So we have Chuck and Stanford. Now, if you haven't known at this point, Stanford is where Chuck went to college for 4 years, got kicked out by Bryce. Got kicked out because Bryce told the professor that Chuck cheated on a test. And now we know why he did it. He did not do it because he hated Chuck. He did it because he wanted to protect Chuck from becoming a spy in the first place. Because at that point, he had been in the spy game for a year. Yes, he was just a junior training operative, but he knew Chuck better than a lot of people, and he knew Chuck was not a person. He was not someone who fit the spy life. Chucksters later on know that this is not necessarily true because of other people that Chuck knows from his past. But no need to spoil anymore for you newbies. So I mean, he knows that he's basically trying to protect Chuck from becoming. He knows that Chuck is not a cold blood killer. He's not a heartless bastard like Bryce Larkin is. So he's just trying to keep him. He doesn't want to see Chuck go through that, which is nice, I think. It makes Bryce look a little more human instead of the evil jerk bastard that we know him from the first 6 episodes. So, I mean, it's dangerous. And that's, Chuck being recruited by the CIA is why he's in the Intersect, which is weird because you'd think if he flashed on his student ID picture, you'd think he would flash on himself like in the mirror. Like if he looks in the mirror, you'd think he would flash on himself then. I guess I don't know how the Intersect works. I guess it has to be a picture, not. But then I guess that begs the question: is your reflection of a mirror a picture? I I don't know let's not delve into a deep science discussion because I'm not prepared for that kind of discussion. But it makes you think. It makes you wonder. So that's cool. And then we learn about college students and the CIA, obviously recruiting college students. Um, I honestly don't know if something like this happens out there. It probably does now that I think about it. Recruiting all these kids on college campuses to join the CIA. I don't know. I've never seen it at the University of Arkansas where I go. Never seen it once. But then again, why would I see it? The CIA is supposed to be secretive. They might cover it up very well. But seriously, I don't think it's that common. Because that professor had a lot of kids that he recruited into the CIA. I don't I don't think they do that. I don't think that I don't think. Do they recruit on college campuses? Probably. But is it a lot of kids? Is it a lot of college students? Probably not. Probably not at all. So I found that interesting that they were recruiting college kids in classes. And then when they get in the shootout later, all those kids come in. I don't know. I just, obviously it's a TV show, and I get that they were just creating something for the TV show, which is cool. It was a cool way to help save Team Bartowski, but like thinking about the logistics of it in real life, recruiting a bunch of those college kids, telling them, "Hey, we're the CIA. You want to join up? Oh, you don't want to join up? Well, now you know we're the CIA. What are we gonna do now?" And then if they do join, teaching them firearms, or teaching them about shooting, going to the shooting range, teaching them all this stuff while they're getting their degree. It just seems a little suspect to me. Just doesn't seem like it's feasible, I guess. But I like their code word for for imminent danger in the area. Are you coming to the toga party? It's a great college phrase. Colleges have toga parties all the time because people like dressing like ancient Greek and Romans. Uh, and so, what better phrase for college students to utter when there's danger around than "Are you going to the toga party?" And by that, it's dangerous to have that as your phrase for danger because a lot of kids go, "Hey, you coming to the toga party?" And then they spring into action thinking there's danger. And it was just a kid going asking for real, like, "Hey, are you going to the toga party?" That seems dangerous. You probably should have picked a better code name if you're asking me. But hey, I'm just a kid. I'm just an imaginer, just a dreamer. I guess I don't know what I'm talking about. It seems a little suspect. So there we go. I'll leave it at that. That phrasing is not that good, I guess, in my opinion. So that's pretty cool. And then we have a little bit of Sarah and Bryce. We have a little throwback to Sarah and Bryce. This is Sarah's first glimpse at the thought that maybe Bryce didn't betray our country. Because she was his partner for a while, and they were romantically involved, as we learned in Chuck vs. the Wookiee. And she like I said, she and Bryce were romantically involved, and she was incredibly hurt by him betraying the country. She couldn't understand why he did it, and now she has a glimpse as to why he did what he did, and she's we see her crying at the end of the episode, thinking, well, what is he doing? What did he do? Why did he do what he did? So I mean, we get a little bit of a throwback to Sarah and Bryce. So I mean, that's nice. That's pretty cool, I think. But anyway, so let's move on to the Omaha Project. Now, I'm going to both spoil something, but it's not a big thing that I spoil. So, when I talk about the Omaha Project, we see in this episode that Chuck was going to be recruited for the Omaha Project, and Bryce was already on the Omaha Project. Now, we really don't learn. Really, the first season is the only mention of the Omaha Project, and we never really learn much about it, except that it was the project that developed the Intersect. Now, that's the spoiler that I was mentioning, but it's not really much of a spoiler because I didn't delve into any details, but Omaha Project was the project I'm pretty sure that developed the Intersect. But we never really in the first season or the rest of the series, we never really discussed the Omaha Project. So I mean, it's a weird way to mention something that they're not gonna ever talk about again. So I mean, Chuck was supposed to be connected to this Intersect way before he actually got it, if that means anything. So I mean, it's just I guess they were gonna mention something about it sometime, but they didn't. I don't know. I wish they kind of would have delved into that a little bit more, but who knows? Well, I mean, like I said, this is a big episode for, and we get to see some football, good old college American football. I love me some football, guys. I'm a big football fan. I'm a big football fan. I go to I go to a lot of Razorback. I go to all the Razorback home games and some of the away games if I can. So, and if you follow me, okay, you can follow the Intersect Project podcast on Twitter at Chuck Rewatch 33 capital C. In my Twitter bio, there I mentioned my personal account, which I use for joke tweets and sports tweets. A lot of my sports tweets, if you follow me and you don't know who the Razorbacks are, I apologize somewhat. I apologize for filling your timeline with a lot of WPS, which means Woo Pig Suey. But I'm also not sorry because I'm a big fan. I'm a diehard fan, so I mean, I'm going to do it. Sorry and not sorry at the same time. But anyway, we get to see some instances of American football, the tailgating atmosphere with UCLA, Ellie and Devin's alma mater, and versus Stanford, Chuck's alma mater. So that's pretty cool. I think that you get to see a small bit of a tailgating atmosphere for a big college football game, which is fun. And then we have Chuck. Well, probably one of my favorite parts of the episode is Chuck being reprimanded by the library for an overdue book for 4 years, and it's like $200 and something. I thought that was funny, especially because it was the decline of the Roman Empire. Hey man, you got to read it. You got to finish. You got to find out what happens at the end of the book. No one knows what happens at the end of decline and fall of the Roman Empire. No one knows. So I mean, that's some of the more comical slash awesome moments, in my opinion, of the episode. Which, like I said, it's an establishing episode. It establishes an arc for season 1, and it helps establish the arc going forward for the rest of the series. It's a very important episode. So if you didn't really pay attention while watching this, I suggest going back and watching it again, because it's a good episode, but it's also like a very, very important episode. And so that's it's a good episode. It's a good episode, and it's a very strong establishing episode. So I'll leave it at that. So basically, we have come to the end of this episode's discussion, guys. We've made it. we've discovered Chuck versus the Alma Mater through and through. I had fun. Did you guys have fun? Of course you had fun, guys. It's a great episode. But anyway, like I said, this is the end of the episode. Once again, I'd like to thank all the people that listen to this podcast. I strive to make the best podcast I can for you guys because you guys are awesome. I mean, like I said here recently, this podcast has exploded in viewership. It's just exponentially increasing, and it's awesome. We're reaching a lot more people, and it's a lot of fun. So I mean, I'm enjoying what I've been enjoying. I enjoy doing this podcast even if nobody's listening because I like talking about my favorite TV show. So I mean, I would do this podcast if no one listened. But it's really nice when people listen because it means people are understanding. You guys are understanding my vision a little bit at least. You're understanding that I'm trying to take this TV show that I love, explain it in depth, and also try and reach others that who haven't watched Chuck and get them to watch this fantastic show. Because while I want to do a rewatch, while I'm doing this rewatch podcast for every episode of the series, the main goal of every Chuck fan is we want that Chuck movie. We want that movie at the end. But we also want a family of people who enjoy the same thing. And that's talking about our favorite show, Chuck. So I mean, we want that Chuck movie, but we also want like a family atmosphere. So I mean, that's why Chuckaholics has offered to partner with me, I guess is the way to work alongside me, because he's trying to get a group of people together in one spot that love doing the same thing, and that's talk about Chuck. So like I said, it's just a lot of fun. In my opinion, I Chuck is my favorite TV show, and I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy talking about it so you guys can listen to it. And I hope that we can increase the viewership even more. I mean, like I said, I've set some goals. Now that people are starting to really listen to this podcast, I've got goals for this podcast, baby. We're gonna get to the top of iTunes. We're gonna get to the top. And by top I mean we're gonna get high in iTunes because I mean it'd be pretty difficult to be the number one podcast on iTunes. But hey, why not dream big? Why not? Also, I want to talk about also I'd like to do a live podcast as like a conversation for cause at NerdHQ 2015. I mean, I would love if we got that going. I would love if that happened. If I got to do a live podcast episode for a conversation for cause panel at NerdHQ, that would be awesome. And maybe and we'd get a group of people who listen to the show. Because I don't like calling you guys fans because it feels conceited to me. It feels like I'm being conceited if I call people my fans. I just want to call you awesome people who listen to what I do. Listen to me babble on about a TV show. I don't want to call you guys fans because this is what you guys are. You're awesome people who probably not. You're awesome people who listen to me babble on about a TV show. You guys are fantastic, and I appreciate every single one of you. But yeah, like I said, I mean, if we could get to do a live podcast episode as a conversation for cause panel at Nerd HQ this next year, that would be incredible. That's another goal that I have for the podcast. So I mean, we got big things going for this podcast. Maybe we can get the podcast sponsored so I can maybe get some big guests on the podcast. So I mean, let's do it, guys. All we gotta do is spread the word, introduce people to the podcast. Let's jump viewership up. Also, leave reviews, guys, on iTunes. If you if you leave a review, the more reviews the podcast gets, the more likely it is for people to see it and to listen to it and just go, hey, what is this? What's this all about? So, I mean, there's a lot of cool things we can do. We just got to share it, guys. We got to share the podcast. So, go ahead, listen to this podcast, share it with a lot of people. Be like, hey, have you listened to this podcast about Chuck? It's incredible. You don't have to say incredible, but I'm just using that as an example. But be like, hey, listen to it, and share it with a lot of people. Share it anywhere you can find to share it. We're looking to spread out. We're looking to get more viewers, man. Leave reviews. Leave a lot of reviews if you can, so more people can see it on iTunes. The chances are it becomes more popular on iTunes because it's been reviewed a lot. So review. Follow me on Twitter. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, at ChuckRewatch33, capital C. I post a lot of cool. I have a lot of cool interactions with Chuck fans on there. I post in the Chuck Reddit forum a lot. It's a pretty cool place there. So that's it, guys. Thanks once again. Thanks for exponentially increasing the downloads and viewership of this podcast. And that, like I said, that's why I'm doing the second podcast, is because you guys exploded the number of downloads and views. I mean, it's incredible. So it's like, what can I do to help, or what can I do to thank them? And I was like, I'll give them 2 this week, and that's what I decided to do. You guys get 2 podcast episodes this week. So, once again, thank you guys. And that about wraps up this episode. So I will, once again, guys, thank you very much. And I will see you guys next week for Chuck versus the Truth. It's a good episode. Be ready to listen. Thank you guys. Over and out.